all the unique characters,
I do let him bang. Yeah, I'm saying? Like, yeah, I'm a legend, man. I'm building my legacy.
all the stories and perspectives featured weekly.
I wasn't fully committed to that choke, and I kind of sunk into it, started squeezing tighter, and I kind of heard him gurgle a little bit. And I was like, oh.
And all the combat sports you could ask for in the best state in the U.S.
Like I said, Ohio versus the world. It's going to happen for sure. Watch out.
It'll be cool, man. I'm not worried about it. I'm going to show them why the Ohio MMA scene is, in my opinion, one of the best MMA scenes in the country.
This is Forged in OH.
I-O.
OH.
I-O.
OH.
I-O!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 123 of Forged in Ohio. My name is Jake Murren, and I'm the host of the podcast. Last week, I was joined by a fighter who won an amateur title at Cage Thunder 33, and the same can be said about this week's episode. This fighter has taken the welterweight division by storm in Ohio. He debuted 14 months ago, owns a 6-1 record, and has collected 4 amateur championships along the way. Representing Demolition Fight Team, it's the Unbreakable Brayden Benson. Thanks for coming on the show, Brayden, and welcome to Forged in Ohio.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm really happy to be on, man.
Of course, it's exciting to get you on the show, and we have to start with that win at Cage Thunder 33, where you became the promotion's new amateur welterweight champion. Just looking back on it, how happy are you with the way you performed that night?
Man, super happy. I was going through a lot of stuff behind the scenes leading up to that fight. Mainly building my relationship with God, closer than it's ever been in my entire life. I think through this summer was a big thing for me. Just dealing with some personal struggles, some financial issues. Went through a little heartbreak. I just had a lot of motivation going into that fight and a lot of purpose going into that fight. So I had a game plan in that fight, and I think I went out there pretty well and executed it pretty good. So I was pretty happy with myself, and being number one in Ohio after it, super surreal feeling. It was like goosebumps, like opening Tapology and seeing those rankings, because wrestled for 10 years. I never won a state title. I won a freestyle state title, but a high school state title I never won. Always wanted to do things in college. I always came up short in wrestling. And for the first time in a year after that fight, I feel like I've set goals for myself. I said I wanted to be able to turn pro in a year, and I did that. And not only I did that, I'm number one in Ohio and top 10 in North America. So it's super surreal, super cool.
Everything that was kind of going on, in your personal life going into that fight at Cage Thunder 33, you talked about how much it motivated you. Just how much did that push you to kind of become the best version of yourself today?
Yeah, 100%. And I think me in that fight, I was actually following, shout out to my teammate, Dylan Budka, set me up with an awesome diet plan for that fight. And the weight cut, went smoother than it has, ever. 14 days out, I was within 10 pounds, and usually I'm about 20 pounds still out. So, I wanted to make sure with that same day weigh-in that we felt good. And everything else, the people I was surrounding myself with, I was getting, like I said, really close with God, going to church every Sunday, opening my Bible every chance I got, and just growing my relationship with him and trusting in him that he had a plan for me. And this fight was going to be making my mark in some type of way. And it would be just the beginning. So, yeah, definitely everything I had going on in this camp, just my teammates, all my teammates at Demolition Fight Team, my coach, Gary, everybody was pushing me and just telling me every day that, I can be one of the best in the world at this sport. And I just need to apply myself and keep myself around the right things. And that's exactly what we did all camp. So
I know you had experience with your opponent, Jackson Doherty, in wrestling. How did that experience, if at all, influence your game plan going in?
So kind of analyzing Jackson, and you got to take, we wrestled in high school. So you got to take that with a grain of salt, right? I would say that we were boys in high school, and we were, growing pretty much men stepping in that cage. We're both 21 years old now. So I think it's about 4 years ago, would have been a little over 4 years ago, we wrestled in high school. So obviously we take that with a grain of salt, but I knew he's an athletic kid. When we did have a wrestling match, he got into some good shots. I just felt like my technique, and I was just a little bit stronger in that match. But again, he didn't look like what he did in that high school match. I mean, obviously look at the kid. He's in great shape. Jackson is shout out to Jackson Doherty, tough kid and just a hard worker. So I wasn't like thinking like, oh, I'm still respecting every bit of Jackson's wrestling because at the end of the day, he was a great wrestler. And I watched him use it in all of his fights. You know what I mean? That's how he's won, all his fights leading up to that. Like I said prior to the fight, he's a longer guy, a little bit taller, had good teeps and stuff like that. But as far as I felt like for me, the key to that fight was not hanging on the outside or staying at Jackson's range. It was being aggressive and it was pressing him. And that was the main thing. And we also had to obviously be aware of Jackson's takedowns because we're a wrestler too, right? But if you're overextended on a right hand and just leaving your body wide open, anybody can be taken down. So just making sure we're staying technically sound. And I think we did a pretty good job of that.
Yeah, I'd say so as well. Did you feel like it might have come down to who had the better wrestling going into the cage?
Yes, because if you can't stop someone's takedowns, it's kind of hard to win a fight, right? So I think that definitely we had to be the better wrestler in that fight. But I wasn't looking to wrestle. I was looking more to stand up. And I feel like a lot of people think that I'm just this person. And my last 2 fights before that, they were actually identical times, ground and pound the same way. In 2 minutes and 36 seconds. So everybody's like, oh, he just wants to take you down and beat you up. Obviously going into that, like that wouldn't have happened with Jackson. He's a good wrestler. And that wasn't the game plan, but I really wanted to prove to people in that fight, like, hey, I'm an MMA fighter. I'm not a wrestler that's doing MMA. I'm a fighter. And that was the main goal, I would say, going into the fight.
And do you feel like you accomplished that goal of just proving yourself as a fighter?
Yeah, I dropped Jackson, dropped him. I dropped him once, and then there was one time where I cracked him with a right, and he kind of like fell into the leg. I don't know if it was a shot or he kind of fell. It was kind of awkward. But yeah, I knew I hurt him on the feet, and it's hard. It's hard to have a standing war when someone's trying to wrestle, which is MMA. You know what I mean? Obviously, like. And I felt like I was getting the better on the feet. And he just really wasn't used to that pressure. I don't think I've seen, because with Sanisha, he fought Sanisha, and he actually stood with Sanisha in the second round for about a minute and a half. But Sanisha and him are just a little bit similar where they try to pick those shots. I'm the kind of person where I don't have the longest arms, so I'm going to come and get you. When we're standing up, I'm going to come and find you. I'm going to work you against the cage. I'm going to try to walk you down, and I'm going to try to get in your face. Because if you're 6'2", like Jackson, 6'1", 6'2", I mean, it said 6'1", man, but that kid's tall. But like a guy like Jackson, like I'm not going to sit at a place where he's got 4-inch reach on me and is going to, touch, jab me and hit me and just maybe not get a finish, but in a judge's eyes, that's scoring points, right? So my fighting style, if we're going to stand up, I try to think about pressure. Controlled, obviously, you know what I mean? Not getting sloppy, trying your best. And that's a working process, something I still work on, but I feel like it's something that I get better at every day.
How'd you feel going to the scorecards for only the second time in your career? It was the first win in your career by decision, and maybe having to push yourself as the fight got longer.
Yeah, man. And like that goes back to my diet and the way I prepared for this fight. First of all, shout out to my corners, Ian, Gates, and Charlo. Gates actually said something to me. I hold something very dearly to me. And I feel like some people will do good if you say something like this to them in a fight, and some people won't. It might get them in their head. But Gates looked at me right before that third round, and I felt fresh too. I remember in my fight in Texas, like I said, I wasn't eating. I was eating clean, but I wasn't weighing. For this fight camp, I was weighing olive oil that I was cooking with. Everything was being weighed. I was very specific on what I was putting in my body. And I hadn't done that before. So I found in the third round, my arms were kind of tight and tired. And I honestly, in the third round of that fight, I wanted to wrestle because I felt like I couldn't keep my hands up to strike. Coming into this fight, into the third round of this fight, I sat down and I still felt, obviously you don't feel fresh like when you got in there, but I felt good and I didn't feel like I took much damage, and I still wanted to stand. And my corner knew that. They knew I was looking good on the feet, and Gates looked at me and said one thing right before I stood up, and he said, "Your pops is watching." And, that's something for me. That's all I had to hear. And I was ready to go out there and go to war for 3 more minutes. I could have gone for 2 more rounds after that. I was ready for whatever. So yeah, that's the best compared to my fight in Texas. I beyond belief, way better. And physically I was in a lot better shape. My body's never looked that good going into a fight. So yeah, I believe I did everything right for that fight, and as I should have, because Jackson was obviously a game opponent. Kid's got good wrestling, good back takes, he can take a hit too. I'll tell you that. Holy moly!
We'll talk about your career as a whole here in a moment, but something sparked there. Obviously, you're 6-1, 4 amateur titles in such a short amount of time. I'm sure you get a lot of confidence just from those stats alone and all the success that you've had. But when it comes to things like that, what you talked about in the third round, feeling fresh and noticing little things like that you're improving along the way, how much confidence does that give you as you progress in such a short amount of time in your career?
Quite a bit, man. And it's also finding this balance of, hey, I still feel like, and that's why I'm getting done with college. I wanted to turn pro after this fight. But I'm going to finish up college. I still receive an athletic scholarship that I don't want to lose, and a lot of other things that play into it. But pursuing a pro career while being a full-time student is probably not ideal. And again, I'm 21 years old. I've been watching fighting since I was 6. I always wanted to fight, but it grew up with wrestling because I had a single mom. So school sports was just what was easier for her. You know what I mean? I just go right after school, and it was cheaper. So there was always this love for MMA, but I've only been training MMA for the last year. You know what I mean? So I still am very young in the sport. You know what I mean? It's confident. I feel like I'm picking up things so fast, and like all these belts and stuff like that, and the rankings definitely boost my confidence. And I've believed in myself since I was 0-0 in this sport. You know what I mean? I looked at I looked at my family, my mom, my grandfather. I told him I'm going to be in the UFC by the time I'm 25. That was before I even got in the cage and fought. So I think all these little things like the belts and stuff, they're super cool stories to tell someday and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, there's still a goal, and that goal is not finished until my mom's retired and my kids don't have to worry about a thing for the rest of their life. So definitely a confidence booster. But I feel like in fighting, I've always had that confidence. And if you're a fighter, you should always, if you're not, I feel like in MMA, more than any other sport, if you're not getting in that cage confident, what are you doing in there? You know what I mean?
Talking with the Unbreakable Brayden Benson here on Forge in Ohio. Since it's the first time I've had you on the show, I'd like to kind of get into your backstory here. What encouraged you to make that debut in mixed martial arts in July 2024?
Yeah, so I had wrestled my first 2 years here at Tiffin, still go to school here. My second year, I had a pretty solid season. Believe I was it was like 20 and 12 or something like that. I had a pretty solid season. Didn't end up getting to compete in postseason, and that was kind of a last minute thing. And it really messed up my mental. And like I said, in wrestling growing up, I always had a goal every year, and I felt like I always fell short of that. And 3 weeks after, 2.5 weeks after that, my grandfather was put in the ICU. He had pneumonia in his left lung. And then it was going to be curable, or sorry, he had gotten pneumonia. He had fibrosis in the lung that he was currently seeking treatment for. But before they could get him on the proper medication, he got pneumonia in his other lung. So he was put in critical condition, thought he wasn't going to pass. Anyways, week goes by. They end up telling us, he's not going to make it. So I just was at a point in my life where I wanted to quit everything. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was worried about my mom. I didn't know if I was going to move home or what the whole deal was going to be with that. And I was very low in life. I didn't really do anything keeping me wanting to be alive with my mom and God. And that's when I found God, and found some closure in that. And I was at a point where I didn't think I wanted to wrestle. But I promised my grandfather I was going to finish school. And the week that he passed away was the first time I went in a demolition fight team. And from the jump, they took me in. And it just kind of took off from there. And I got to this point where I was talking with Gary, and I was like, I want to fight. You know what I mean? I don't think I want to wrestle in college this year. And Gary never pushed me into it. It was completely my decision. I went to my coach and I was like, hey, I don't want to wrestle this year. I still would like to come in and go to school and stuff, but I'm not. I want to fight. And that's just kind of where it started. And I think it was the most rash decision that I've ever made in my entire life. I mean, I lost my grandfather. I also decided to get this dog right here a week after he passed away. So I was just making a lot of rash decisions. But I think in losing him, I think God had a plan for me, and I think that God put me through a lot of things in my life and a lot of trials and tribulations. And especially losing him, it's the hardest thing I've ever been through. But in that moment, he also turned me into a man and brought me to Demolition Fight Team and put awesome people in my life. And I got to debut in July, and we've just taken off from there. When we see a fight, we take it. Except for now, unfortunately, we have to finish school. But as soon as I graduate, we see a fight, we take it.
So what actually like brought demolition across your radar? And then when did it kind of click that, hey, I might be good at this mixed martial arts stuff?
Charlie the Reaper Cleveland.
Mm.
He actually played football at Charlie played football at Tiffin University, and he was seeing like a mutual friend. We have a girls wrestling team, so he was seeing somebody on our team, and so I obviously knew him. We would talk, chop it up sometimes, and I had seen that on Instagram. You know, he had an MMA debut, so we talked about that a little bit. You know, he just told me about the gym, and that was completely coincidental. It was actually 2 days before my grandfather was moved to the hospital to ICU that he brought me to demolition. And he was like, "Hey man, if you want to come try out the gym, you know what I mean, you're more than welcome. I'll give you a ride." And brought me in. It was towards the end of March, so it was like just took off from there. But yeah, Charlie, shout out to Charlie Cleveland. It's one of my brothers, and you'll see him in the UFC in a few years too. I guarantee that. But yeah, he definitely introduced me to the gym, and then first person I worked with him there was Gates. Held some pads for me, and the 2 minutes in, he's like, "Dude, you can hit hard," but I didn't mean to curse. He said, "Dude, you can hit hard, but if you can, if you can learn how to technically throw these punches, man, you're going to be a problem." And that kind of got in my head. I started grappling with some of our pros, really good guys in the gym. And I've never done jujitsu, but I wasn't getting submitted like you would think. One person that would get me real when I first started was Quentin Richards. He would get me. He's one of our best jiu-jitsu guys in the gym. But now I'm at a point where it's very tricky to find me in a submission. I don't get caught very often at all. So it's just kind of picking up things on the fly. I think my wrestling background helped me out quite a bit with that. Yeah.
So you debuted on July 6th, 2024. Your second fight was on July 13th, 2024. What was that experience like fighting in back-to-back weekends?
Yeah, so we were actually looking for a fight in June because I had taken like 4 boxing matches. Gary wanted me to first get my hands, which I recommend to any wrestler jumping into MMA. Try to really, even if you don't want to take boxing matches, whatever, but try to really get comfy with those hands in practice. 'Cause I've seen so many times these guys come into fights and they just think they're going to wrestle. You shouldn't go into a fight with that mindset. It's mixed martial arts. So Gary made me take 4 boxing matches, and we started looking for fights in June. And then opportunity opened up a local show July 6th. Took that at actually 185. It was a doctor's stoppage. But I didn't take any damage. There was one punch thrown. I threw a right hand, and it was real sloppy right hand too. But it cracked him, and he came in, clinched with me. I hit a head and arm, put him to his back, and then it was just ground and pound. Actually split his eye open, so that one was doctor stoppage. And then, but I myself didn't. I had blood all over me, but I didn't take any damage. It wasn't my blood. So doctors looked at me. They said, I was good to go, and then Gary brought up, he's like, well, we're taking a crew down to Kentucky next weekend, and they just had a welterweight drop out. If you think you can make 70, then let's do it. And I was like, well, I'm about a bucket. Like for the 85 weigh-in, like I before weigh-ins, I'm like eating a Chipotle burrito. So I was like 183, 184. So I was like, it's gonna suck, but yeah, let's do it. And yeah, and Gary had also let me know too. He's like, in Kentucky, you can get title fights in 2 fights. So if you go out there and put on a good performance, you know what I mean? You never know. And I was like, let's do it. And like I said, I wanted to take off with this. Gary had in my head, he's like, you can be pro in a year. And I believe that too. And now we are ready. It's the only thing stopping us at school. But so we just want to take these fights when they would open. Obviously, if it makes sense, you know what I mean? But that just made sense. Quick finish, you know what I mean? And then another quick win in Kentucky, and it was ended up being a 24-second TKO. So yeah, and then that set me up for my first title fight in October. So it was definitely a quick move, but it was definitely a good move.
Present day, you're 6-1 with 5 first-round finishes, 4 amateur titles. If I would have told you those stats ahead of your debut last year, would you believe me?
Yes, because I believe that God had a plan for me. And I believe that everything that God had led me up to, and I hope that doesn't sound cocky or arrogant, but I just believe that God has something great planned for me. And I believe that God has put me through a lot of things in my life, not just in sport, personal, all kinds of things. And every time in my whole life, I went around questioning God, why, instead of saying, God, you're preparing me for something greater. And in this last year, especially, I would say in the last 3 months more than anything, I sprained my ankle in June and had to have a fight canceled. And 2 days later, I get to fight with Cage Thunder. So like, I remember in that moment, I was so mad sitting in the ER parking lot with my ankle bruised up. And I prayed to God. I literally said, God, I know I don't understand this right now, but I pray that you bring some type of resolve, show me something. And 2 days later, I get a title fight opportunity, the biggest fight I've had in my career so far. So, yeah, just mainly that, you know what I mean? Just keeping my faith in him and growing my relationship with him has really brought me strength in that.
Yeah, it sounds like your belief in your religion has really, launched you into this success you've had. But what do you credit just for this incredible run you've had in such a short amount of time?
My gym, for sure. Coach Gary, amazing person. I take the shirt off his back for you. Has done nothing but try to set me up for success. My teammates that push me daily, Dylan Budka, Gates Cook, Quentin Richards. I mean, I could sit here and name 30 different guys if I went on. Andrew Smith is one of my best friends too, helps me a lot. Somebody I can just talk to. And my mom, man, my mom is the strongest woman I've ever met in my entire life. Raised me up, has done nothing but take care of me and supported me in everything I've done in my entire life. So without that woman, shout out moms, shout out all the moms in the world. Moms are amazing. But without her, I would be nothing. So definitely my family and just my gym, man. The people that I'm working with they're full of killers, you know what I mean? And they do nothing but push me every day to be better. So
The success you've had is one thing and the activity is another. Did you know that you wanted to be this active when you first started?
yeah, 100%. Literally the plan that they said, like, Dylan got in the UFC really fast. And Dylan, like we always would say, like, you can be in the UFC in 3 years, dude. You just got to put your mind to it. You just got to stay committed, get in the gym every day and be on your P's and Q's. We can be in the UFC in 3 years. So that was the goal from the beginning. I think we're looking at about 2 or 3 years now. My goal is 25, be in the UFC. But just like, why I'd rather shoot for the sky and I would rather put everything I have into something. And even if I fall short, look at it and say, damn, man, I really put everything I had in it. And I'll probably be able to provide my family, some type of life from it. You know what I mean? I truly believe that, but I see UFC gold by the time I'm 30. And so like picturing shooting for those goals and stuff like that. Like, I feel like I don't ever want to walk around the world saying, what if? I want to put my all into something and I want to shoot as high as I can.
Yeah, is that the ultimate goal? Is that what you're trying to achieve as a mixed martial artist, to compete on that biggest stage and be the best that you can be?
Yeah. Yeah. I like, my main goal is giving my children a life that I could have only dreamed to have as a kid, retiring my mom by the time she's 50 and changing my family's life and prospering God's name in the process and saving others. That's why, like, I remember you interviewed me after that fight. The first thing I could do when I got on that mic was say that God did, because none of that was me. I'm not strong enough to go through what I went through alone. There's times that I wanted to quit where I thought I was broken, and you know what I mean. I just prayed and I opened my Bible and read. You know what I mean, and got and created a relationship with Him, and that He did everything. He set me up for every opportunity, put all these amazing people in my life. So there's no one else to credit really but Him. Like, I can sit here and I can credit my gym, I can credit my family, but who put these people around me? You know what I mean, when I needed them the most.
Yeah, I love that, man. I've heard varying opinions on amateur titles on this show. You've won 4 of them in your last 5 fights. How much do these amateur championships mean to you?
Like I said, super cool. Hang them up. You know what I mean? Maybe give them to my kids someday. Let them run around the house with them. You know what I mean? But when I turn pro, like, at the end of the day, we're going to be 0-0 again. So I like that they're pretty, they're cool looking. They help me get sponsorships and stuff. You know what I mean? It helped me grow my name, obviously. But at the end of the day, when I turn professional year, I'm going to be 0-0 again, and I'm not going to be the champion of anything. So yeah, definitely I live in the moment with the belts. You know what I mean? Be happy that the night of, celebrate, but if you sit and do, oh, well, I was 6-1 as an amateur. Like, I don't, nobody cares when you turn pro. This is professional fighting now. So that's what I'm building into, you know what I mean? So here soon, these aren't going to mean anything. And they do mean something. They represent my hard work and, the things that I've done in my gym, and, they represent something, but at the end of the day, I don't cling on to them, or that doesn't build my confidence or anything like that, if that makes sense. I've had this confidence in my ability since I started my journey in MMA. So
Reflecting on your 7-fight amateur career so far, do you have a favorite win or performance? Does one stick out?
yeah, I would have see like I want to say the Cage Thunder one because I just love the venue and I like Cage Thunder a lot. Biggest win, biggest opponent, you know what I mean? Biggest 5-0 opponent, biggest win I've had, biggest title I've won. But I would say like the coolest like my like like WTF moment was when I got my first knockout. It was my first title fight and it was 21 seconds and I heard I think it was I think it was my teammate Aaron that was in the corner and he was like, make him pay on those naked kicks. And he threw, I was like, next time he throws one, because the first time he threw one like real close and I threw a hook and it was like it was right there, but I didn't really commit to it. But I was like, if he does that again, I'm stepping in. And I stepped in and he was unconscious off his feet, fell straight to the ground, and I just remember looking down like, oh my gosh, like I did that. And then obviously after, I wanted to help him up and stuff, but it was just like a crazy, like I look at my hands like, wow, like I can do this. You know what I mean? That was my first time where I was like, I can be really good at MMA. Like I always believe, like I said, I always believe, but I was like, wow, like I'm not just a wrestler. That's when I realized that too. Like I can be a fighter. You know what I mean? I can knock people out. So yeah.
Yeah, that's insane. Can you even put that into words, what that experience is like, landing that one shot that just separates your opponent from consciousness?
Adrenaline, dude. Like I remember looking at him and then I looked over at my mom and she's like, and I just screamed. I just excitement, I guess. Because I mean that like those are the moments we work for, right? And I want to make moments like that through my whole career. Because at the end of the day, like you don't get into the UFC off of hugging guys on a cage, not for a long time at least. You know what I mean? You're gonna get in the UFC by making highlights out of people. So being able to do like get it. A lot of people don't get knockouts like that super early in their career. So 3 months into my career, I'm already putting somebody out like that. I was like, and that's what's going to propel me, you know what I mean? And make and grow my image and likeness, you know what I mean? So biggest thing for me was like, go out there and like, not just think about, oh, let me scratch out a win. Like, no, I want to make a highlight out of you. You know what I mean? Like, no disrespect. I respect everybody gets it, but I want to make you look silly. You know what I mean? I want to make it look like why did I get in there with this guy? What made me think that I could fight him? Like, that's my goal when I go into every fight. I want you to walk out of the cage feeling silly. Not just because you got hit, feeling silly because you took a fight with me.
Once again, this is the Unbreakable Brayden Benson here on Forged in Ohio. I'll bring it up again because it's so damn impressive. 6-1 record, 4 amateur titles. What does the future hold for you?
So we're getting I'm actually wrestling this year. My last year of college, I get my degree in the spring. And again, just going back, I want to make sure the time is right when we turn pro. Like I'm trying to change my life in this sport. So I think being out of college, having a partially full-time job, MMA and a job, being able to just be steady, you know what I mean? And not so all over the place with school and everything and not worried about all this stuff. Just be at a point in my life where I could really start adulting, you know what I mean? And not be worried about being a student as well. So when I graduate, I talked to my coach about this a little bit. Here's the 2 options we're going to go with. It's either going to be one more AMI fight just to get comfy again in MMA because we're going to be wrestling for 9 months, or we're going to do a few boxing matches, USA boxing matches, kickboxing matches, and then turn pro after that. Yeah, like I said, I trust my gym completely, so figure that out as it goes. Yeah, so just play it by ear. With school, get this out of the way, and then turn pro next summer. You definitely are going to see me around and probably in the Cleveland area again.
I'm sure wrestling will help, but you've had 7 fights in 14 months. Is it going to be hard for you to kind of take a step back and not be super active like you have been?
Yeah, man, I've already thought about that. I'm like, I haven't usually at this point, like after a fight, we're already talking like, all right, what's next? And now we're just like, I mean, I got wrestling coming up, so that's cool. But and I love wrestling. Wrestling is my first love. But there is no adrenaline dump like getting in a cage and fighting somebody. There truly isn't. There's not you get that. You get almost, it's like a micro dose when you do wrestling. As far as not to crap on wrestling, because I love wrestling. I would never crap on wrestling, but just the experience in MMA is just so much more. Like, that's why I'm okay with like fighting once and not fighting, because it's just like the adrenaline dump is just something that you can't. It's like I compare it to like, like people that like to skydive or like do like the air glide, like that. Like I would never do that, but for some people that's crazy. You know what I mean? Like that's crazy fun for them. Like that's their adrenaline dump. Just like me, most people don't want to get in a cage and fight somebody. I love getting in a cage and fighting somebody. That's my adrenaline dump. Definitely like just I'm going to miss it a lot, and I know I'm going to be eager to get back. But we're still going to stay sharp when I'm not traveling for wrestling. Obviously, we're going to be in wrestling season, so I'm going to be wrestling quite a bit. But we're still going to stay sharp on everything with our feet and stuff like that. Still getting in the gym on the weekends, ladder drills, stuff like that, hitting the bag. Actually, my college wrestling coach let me hang up a boxing bag in our wrestling room. So, yeah. So and shout out to Tiffin Wrestling, man. They've done nothing but support me through this whole journey as well. Kept me on the roster and stuff like that. I still get in and wrestled with those guys through this last year. So yeah.
How much are you looking forward to making that eventual pro MMA debut? Like, I know you fought out of Ohio sometimes, but just that exciting thought of being able to use that full skill set, no more same-day weigh-ins here in Ohio, and compete locally as a pro fighter.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of same-day weigh-ins. I cannot stand them. In this last fight, I did everything perfectly, and that proved to me that I think I could probably make 55. But as far as like turning pro, the elbows, I can't wait for. I practice those quite a bit, especially on the ground. I just see so many opportunities. Like usually when I post on somebody's face, I could just right there. Like I can't wait for things like that, and just really being able to like utilize all tools in MMA. You know what I mean? Flying knees and stuff like that. I love my clinch knees to the head. I actually almost threw one in the fight. That was scary. Yeah, like, and I like fighting. I fought in Kentucky 3 times. I fought in Texas. I like fighting there, like in those states a little bit more, just because it's more like pro. It's more pro feel. I understand like the safety side of like, you don't want to get a guy banged up before he turns pro. But at the end of the day, I'm like, if you're just going to have a guy, he's going to get used to bringing his hand down. He's not going to, you know what I mean? So you're going to create bad habits. I feel like that's why in our gym, like we try to branch out. You know what I mean? I love, fighting everywhere, wherever I can get a fight that makes sense. You know what I mean? It's going to set me up for a better opportunity after is where I'm going to take a fight. But yeah, as far as same day weigh-ins, I'm done with those. I'm wrestling this year. So this year I get to wake up at 6 a.m. and weigh in at 7 and then wrestle for 12 hours. Yeah. So wrestling is brutal. But when I come back, I am excited for those days. Probably the day before weigh-ins for anything else, because I've gotten to throw knees and stuff like that. No elbows yet. So super excited for that, but definitely done with the amateur rule set.
Yeah, I can't blame you there. You mentioned 155. Do you think your long-term future is at lightweight?
Yeah, I not as far as an amateur fight, probably not. But once we turn pro, I mean, who knows? Maybe the first fight, we'll see where my weight is, where I'm wrestling at once we get done with this. Not that I don't feel, obviously, I know I can compete at 70, but if I can take my strength and, you know what I mean, and feel like me down to 55, why not? You know what I mean? And I'm not, my wingspan is 71 inches, 71 and a half, I like to say. And I'm 5'10", you know what I mean? So I'm not the longest individual. And on top of that, my wingspan is kind of trash. That's why I have to walk people down. So if I go down to 55, I don't think I'd be like a super tall guy, but I would be, I'd be pretty big for the weight class. I'd be a really good size for the weight class. So yeah.
When you're wrestling, what weight do you compete at? And when was the last time maybe you were down to that 155 range?
174 was the last weight class I competed at. I actually, in wrestling, I grew up a bigger kid. So I was 240 when I was 15. And I wrestled 220 as a freshman in high school, got pretty big over the summer, lost a little bit of weight going in the next year, did some CrossFit. I was 195, still pudgy. And after that year, COVID hit that following year, my sophomore year of high school. I got in the gym religiously, started powerlifting a lot, and got down to 182 for my junior year. They changed weight classes on us in high school, so I went down to 175 my senior year, and then I wrestled 174 my first 2 years of college. Well, I didn't compete my freshman year. Had some Whole nother story, academic issues in high school. And then I didn't get to compete my freshman year here. So I competed my sophomore year here at Tiffin. And that was also at 174. And then we fight at 170 now. And now we're talking about 155. So I've been getting smaller since I was a child. Kind of went the opposite way for me.
I think one of the only things that you haven't done as an amateur is win a fight by submission. I'm sure you're happy with all these first round knockouts, but are you craving a submission win one day?
Nah, I crave knockouts, dude. I don't know. I just like, if it's there, I'll take it. You know what I mean? And I find them in practice and stuff like that. But when I take somebody down, I look to open you up. You know what I mean? And I make the look, I want to make you not want to be there. So I'm looking to land, hard ground and pound and stuff like that. And just kind of open your position and make it easy for me to pass, get the full mount. And I'm just looking to find damage. I just punch until the finish comes. If a submit, say he turns his back and his neck's wide open, I mean, I'll take that, but I'm not necessarily a guy that has, at least so far in my career, I'm not going to say anything can't change. But I don't go out there and look for submissions. I'm not hungry for submission. No, I think it's more like, cause it's almost like when you get a submission, like the guy could walk out of the fight and be like, oh, well, he just caught me. Like if I knock you out, like I just beat you up, you know what I mean? Like I broke your will, you know what I mean? Versus a submission. He's just good at jujitsu. Like, no, I know how to fight. I can fight. So I just feel like it's a bigger moral victory for me when I get these finishes with my hands versus grappling.
Man, I love that answer. I love your approach to the fight game. Just before we wrap up, Brayden, if you want to shout out anything here at the back end of the show, I'll give you the floor here, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. First of all, shout out to God. Like I said, God did. If you're not with God, I encourage that you find him. And shout out to all my amazing sponsors that sponsored me for that fight. I appreciate all these businesses and people that have supported me for the last 6 months of my career. And then, shout out to my gym, Demolition Fight Team, Gary Young. Wouldn't have got to where I'm at without those guys. And lastly, shout out to my family, my mother especially. Wouldn't be where I'm at without those people. My grandfather. He's not here with us, but he's with me every step of the way. So I appreciate him. I would not be the man I am if he wasn't in my life. So, yep.
All right. Well, thanks again, Brayden, for joining the show. I feel like I should have had you on much sooner. And if you're familiar with the podcast, I like to do the OHIO chant here with my guests before getting them out of here. So, OH.
Wait. I-O.
There you go. Thanks, Brayden. I appreciate the time. Congrats on winning your...
Go Dogs, right? Are you a Cleveland Browns fan?
I am a Cleveland Browns fan, yes. Love it, man. Thanks again for coming on the show. Appreciate the time. Congrats on winning that 4th title, and I can't wait to see what's in store for you in the future, man.
God bless, man.
That was the Unbreakable Brayden Benson, the 6-1 amateur mixed martial artist and 4-time amateur MMA champion. Check out the show on Instagram, Facebook, and X at Forged in Ohio. You can find more content over there, along with links to the merchandise store with new arrivals. Make sure you're subscribed to the Forged in Ohio YouTube channel as well, and download these episodes wherever you listen to podcasts. That helps me out a ton. Thanks again to Brayden Benson, and thanks to all of you for watching or tuning into this episode. My name is Jake Murren, and this was Forged in Ohio.